Few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Nemitz.
And David Lauer.
And this is a show where we talk about loves, hates, indifferences, ambivalences, things we're on the fence about. But before we do any of that, we talk about old topics that we've covered before in a segment we call the Deja Fuse. Go ahead, John. Or wait, me. Forgot.
All right, as I'm going to say, go ahead, Vince.
Go ahead, Dave. Yeah, I have a déjà vu. We're talking about recreational vehicles. I think Dave was indifferent to this. Um, and I believe I said, "Oh, I've never been on a skiing thing or whatever." No, that's a lie. I finally remembered that I've ridden on it once. But what makes it stand out is there was in the neighborhood there was this great little lake that we went to go swimming as a family. We had great memories. Like every summer we go to Windy Point. That's what it was called. And then eventually it was sold as private property. And we are just like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. And we were very mad for a long time. And then eventually one of the guys that lived there was like a friend of ours, Sam. And one day he was like, "Hey, you guys want to come over and hang out?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And yeah, he lived right on there. But he had skidoos. Is that what they're called?
Hutskis.
They're not skidoos.
Skidoo is a name
Yeah,
brand, maybe?
Oh
yeah,
shit.
it's a name
Okay.
brand.
All right. I think it was the one where it has the stream of water coming out the back of it. I think.
Like a
Uh,
powerful blowhole from a sea-dwelling mammal.
yeah, man. But that was fun. That was really cool, but it was also kind of bittersweet because like you're gliding around property that old memories of hanging out with family, swimming around, and now you just can't do that anymore. So, but thankfully that guy is cool. Like we're still friends. Um, yeah, that's my jet skiing story, recreational. Yeah.
Man, property ownership, huh? It's the worst.
Ooh, should that be a future topic?
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's weird when it comes to like lakes, like because I always thought like water it's public property, but then there are some lakes that are like private lakes, and yeah, I don't know. It's weird because it's like I get it, like if it's on your property, but there has to be like a size limit. I feel like because sometimes it's like it's at a certain point once it's big enough, like I feel like it's public and anyone should be able to go. But
yeah. Fuck. All right, well, should we get the show started?
Yes,
Uh,
let's.
John, go ahead, man.
I'm going to start out with my pow, 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 mystery topic. Um, I hate that so much stuff on this planet of ours just wants to kill us. I'm talking about, natural
Vigilantes.
disasters. Yeah, vigilantes. Natural disasters, all these floods and earthquakes and tornadoes and all this stuff. You know, you the sun, it's shooting all these UV rays at us. It's giving us cancer. Um, I was just what made me think about this today was we've had a radon problem in our house and we had to like, put these systems in place to mitigate it that um just this, gas, I guess it's a gas, yeah, can seep out of your basement and just, make you more likely to get lung cancer in the future. And um it's just, you know, so much stuff everywhere that I talked about our fragile, frail bodies in the past, and there's just so much stuff gunning for us all the time. It's amazing we live as long as we do.
Well, like I'll never go to Australia because don't they say like
Oh
literally
yeah,
everything's trying to
animals
kill
and
you?
yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah, venomous animals,
yeah.
animals that want to eat you, all that stuff. Drop
Amazon,
bears.
I wouldn't go drop bears. Isn't that fake? Isn't that
I
just what they tell tourists or no?
don't know.
Let's settle
To
it
find
once
out for
for all.
yourself.
Yeah. Although that sounds fun, Just wear a helmet. You'll be fine. No, it's that. I'll never go there. I'll never go into the Amazon. Um, yeah, yeah, I don't like that. Although I'm not full of fear though. I'm really not. I should be though. We could name so many things that are bad for you, for sure. What about you, Dave?
Um, I like I've never really heard of this until I was an adult, but like, yeah, if I was a kid, why the hell would I hear of it? But if you go swimming in like warm
Oh
lakes
yeah.
with like not a lot of current, there'll be a lot of bacteria in the water. And like certain people, there's like like in Eau Claire, there's Mount Simon, and everyone will like go off the rope swing into the water and they do that. There's something like that near where I live in Oklahoma. But the problem is people are like, man, tons of people are getting like meningitis, like spinal meningitis. And it's like they're getting like bacteria crawling into their ears.
Oh my
And then they're
God.
getting super sick. And everyone's like, stay out of the water hole. Like, don't go in there. Um, yeah, there's just like crazy stuff like that. And
Yeah,
then,
and like brain amoebas, same thing.
yeah,
Like in warm lakes.
Oh, are
yeah.
you saying that maybe I was saved from Sam buying the property? I'm not gonna go into that warm lake.
Yeah, I think we're pretty safe up here.
Yeah,
Uh,
like honestly, I've like the natural disaster stuff is crazy. I've been like in a funked up mood like the last 10 days, ever since like just seeing the footage and like all the stuff that happened like in North Carolina and Tennessee and Georgia. Like the people who live up in like the Appalachian Mountains and like their houses and towns just getting washed away and they're all stranded because all the roads are been taken out. That stuff's awful. And then like now, like in a like tomorrow morning starting, I think, um in like Tampa, Florida, they're gonna get hit with the next hurricane. And it's just
Yeah.
like it's one of the biggest ones I've ever seen, if not the biggest, and like the strongest, and it's absolutely just gonna just destroy people's homes and cities and just it's awful. I don't know. I've just been in a funked up mood like the last week or two, and it seems, and like I'm very grateful I am nowhere near that stuff because I mean some people have the means to be able to evacuate, but some people don't have the money to buy gas, and some places don't even have gas to buy to actually be able to leave. And just being stranded and at the mercy of nature just destroying you.
the other thing that's been on my mind, just because of my poor health, is just how bad like bacon can be for me, or in general, or like burgers and like all the great, amazing stuff that I used to be able to eat at will could fucking take away all of this if I eat enough of it, Like I remember, okay, so just the other day I went to McDonald's for breakfast and bought a steak, egg, and cheese bagel. It was so fucking good, but then my neck felt fucking weird. I'm like, what is this? Like I feel like I'm stuffed up or something, or I'm filling with something. And yeah, that was just the blood pressure surging, you
Oh,
know?
geez.
It was nuts. So in terms of things that could kill you, like yeah, like just simple like red meats can be bad for you, could end a life. Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah, those steak bagels are delicious, but they are like packed with salt. So I think you got to drink like a 2 liter bottle of water with it to kind of help your kidneys flush that salt out of you.
Okay, but John, you say you hate that there's so many things that could kill us or whatever. But does that affect your personality? Do you, are you an anxious person because of it, or
I wouldn't say I'm anxious, but I'm definitely risk averse. And like, I do think about like not wanting to live on the East Coast because of hurricanes and um like that kind of stuff does enter my calculus for like major life decisions I want to make, I would say.
Yeah. I feel like pretty safe here in Wisconsin. We don't really have to deal with much. We don't have to deal with like fires like in the West, California style. We might have tornadoes, but not as many as like Kansas, you know?
Yeah, and at least tornadoes are less frequent and more localized. Like they're not going across an entire state like a hurricane.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I've always felt pretty safe in terms of natural disasters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. We don't get earthquakes really. We
No.
um
Volcanoes.
yeah, no volcanoes. We do get blizzards, but mostly you just stay at home and you're fine if you're able to do that.
Yeah. Segway challenge. Next. Uh, I
Oh, this topic's killing me.
yeah.
Let's talk about something else.
I could go next, or unless Dave, you want to go, it doesn't matter to me.
I can go.
All right.
My mystery topic is about it's about a man of mystery, an international man of mystery.
I
I
know
love
such a
Mike
man.
Myers.
Oh,
Mike Myers, like ever since I was a kid, like I loved Mike Myers on SNL, and then the Wayne's World movies, and then the Austin Power trilogy, and then also he's the voice of Shrek, and like Shrek is like one of the most beloved like animated um movies ever. Like, and there's I don't know, there's like four of them, and there's like you know like what do they call it, remakes or reboots or something, or like with the Puss in Boots, they like that has its own movie now. Um, yeah, like Mike Myers is so freaking awesome. Like I love almost like every like when I watch like the old SNLs, anything that Mike Myers is in, I absolutely love. Um, like he has so much good stuff. Like I just anytime I see Mike Myers, it's like seeing an old friend because like I don't feel like he does anything anymore, or at least I'm not aware of anything that he's done recently. I feel like he's just kind of retired. It's kind of like like Rick Moranis, where he kind of just retired
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
certain point. Um, but yeah, like Mike Myers is awesome. I think Austin Powers is probably like my favorite like comedy trilogy ever. Like the first movie I had it on VHS tape and I watched it just thousands of times. Like I remember during the summer that I first had that movie, I think it was like eighth grade going into ninth grade or something like that. Every day that summer, I put in Austin Powers and I would watch it every day, just every day. And then when The Spy Who Shagged Me, the second one came out, I didn't have my driver's license yet, but I think my sisters did. And they would want to go to the Oakwood Mall. And they would go there, and I'd be like, please take me with you. I'll just go to a movie. I'll watch a movie. And I would just go into the theater and I would watch The Spy Who Shagged Me. And then they would just go shopping and do whatever. And then they would pick me up in an hour and a half and then they take me home because I didn't want to like walk around and go shopping. I'm like, just take me to a movie. I'll just sit and watch Austin Powers. And I would just sit in the theater, and I must have watched that movie like five or six times in the theaters. And then like Goldmember was amazing. Like it was somehow like bigger and more epic. Like with the opening scene with like Danny DeVito and Tom Cruise and what's her name, Gwyneth Paltrow. Like that opening was so hilarious. And then yeah, just everything about like Mike Myers, everything he does is just amazing.
have you seen The Cat in the Hat?
I have not. Do I need to avoid it?
I watched a video of people reviewing it and watching it, and it looks really bad. Yeah.
I feel like knowing Mike Myers' sense of humor, I feel like I would get enjoyment out of it. But I think if you, I don't know. I'm already like looking at ways of defending it. Like my confirmation bias is kicking in. I'm just like, no, you just don't know his work and his comedy. obviously wrong.
Well,
Here's your homework. Come back with a movie report.
Okay, I will. I can't guarantee I'll watch the entire movie, but I'll watch 15 minutes of it and then I'll report back whether it seems great. Because in 15 minutes I'll know whether I want to watch the entire thing or I need to just stop.
Fair enough. So I married an axe murderer. Remember that one?
Oh yeah,
I did
yeah.
like that movie.
I was
Don't
gonna be
remember
like,
much of it now.
Rochelle.
I like that
Uh,
movie was great, and then I heard about like the Phil Hartman and like what happened with Phil, and then like going back and watching it, I was like, oh, this now I just like I don't know, like Phil Hartman literally married a murderer. Like
oh
Yeah,
no.
I
that's
don't know, I just remember like watching how I because that movie was always on like Comedy Central or USA Network or something.
I like Mike Myers. He like there are some things though that kind of that don't really sit well with me. He tends to put like he has some awesome jokes in his movies, but then he puts in jokes that are pre-existing. Like, don't have an issue, here's a tissue. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before. Why like you're coming up with all this original stuff and then he throws in these jokes that have been around before. Oh my God, I can't think of any right now.
well, I can think of one like in Wayne's World. He did the camera one, camera two thing, and then he did it again in Austin Powers. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
is the camera one, camera two, is that pre-existing like out before him?
No. As far I don't have any reason to believe that he didn't come up with that,
Oh.
but it was just weird that he used it in two of his movies to
Oh,
me.
right. Well, turns out Mel Brooks is very guilty of that. I'm just
Okay.
finding about this now. Yeah, I've been watching some of his stuff. I'm like, motherfucker, you did that in Blazing Saddles. Now you're just doing. Oh my God, all right, whatever. But
I
no, yeah.
I was just saying, I feel like that might be like a callback to something because anytime I've listened to like interviews of Mike Myers, he's like, "Oh, I did this because of this," and it's like he's always just referencing movies from his childhood that he watched. So like, I'd be curious to hear his take on it because I'm like, I'm sure he has like a reason and like what it was from, or like that joke. It might be like something like his grandma used to say or something like that. Because like in the interviews, he would always anything in his movies, he had a reason for it. I don't know.
So I love the Powers movies as well. But it's interesting behind the scenes when, his Dr. Evil, that actually caused a huge rift between him and Dana Carvey. You ever hear about this?
No, I
No.
would have thought between him and Lorne Michaels, if
Well,
anything.
exactly, right? So, no, Dana Carvey used to have a Lorne Michaels impression that he would do all the time. And Mike Myers just like didn't tell him, I'm sure it's blew up worse than it should have been. But like he was like he never told Dana Carvey that he's basically doing his Lorne Michaels impression as Dr. Evil. And yeah, they didn't talk for years. So
Wow.
yeah. Um Never saw So I Married an Axe Murderer. Like I've never gotten around to it. I know plenty of people who like it, but yeah, I give it a try. Oh, the other thing that he does a lot is the looking into camera and like selling a product. You know, he does that a lot. It's pretty crazy. But that's not attacking him, Dave. I like Mike Myers as well, but
Yeah, like the Wayne's World movies aren't perfect, but at the same time, I still love them because it's like them playing people like trying to figure out how to do a TV show, but in real life, they're trying to figure out how to make a movie. And they're just like sketch actors on SNL, but they're like doing this movie and they're kind of figuring it out. And yeah, like not everything's going to be perfect. Um, but yeah, they're a great comedy duo. I didn't know that they had like gotten to a rift over that Doctor Evil thing. That's a
mhm,
bummer.
yeah. Um, uh, Anything else? You do a segue? Anyone want to look directly in the camera and sell a product?
Oh, behave.
Oh shit. Okay, well, while we're talking about Austin Powers, I still love when he's playing the what is it, blackjack? And they're like,
Oh yeah.
"I'll stay." Like, I suggest you. What is it? I suggest you call or something like that.
I suggest
he,
you hit.
he
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
I think the
suggest
other way
you.
around, he doesn't he have like 20 or whatever and he like hits and they're like, I suggest you stay.
I don't remember. No, no. He wants to stay, and he's like, I also like to live dangerously because like it's obviously like there won't
Yeah.
be.
I
Oh
think
yeah, that's right.
he has like a two and a three, so he's like five, and he's like, "I'll stay." He's like, "I suggest you hit. You only have five. Like you want to at least get into the teens." He's like, "I'll stay here."
All right. Next, well, I will go. Let's see here. We've done nothing but mysteries, huh? Let's go with a hate. I hate that time I pulled my groin muscle. Oh, great. Yeah, yeah. Laugh it up because that's all I fucking got every time. They're like, "So what's the matter, Vince?" I'm like, I pulled my groin muscle, and they're like, "Ah." No,
That's the
this
most
this
hilarious injury
this
for everybody
happened.
else.
That's what you get for doing the splits in that furry costume.
Oh my God. All right, so this happened my senior year, and I was both on the football team as well as training with a group to run a marathon in Hawaii. So I was probably overdoing it a little bit, and just something happened where I'm like, oh shit, this kind of hurts. It 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 kind of sucks to walk, but it really hurts to run. And everyone I told, they would just giggle and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, get it out of your system, whatever. But I like it had some serious consequences. I had to drop out of the marathon thing. I remember telling my coach, I'm like, I just can't do it. He's like, well, are you still staying on the football team? I'm like, yeah, but I'm warming the bench. I've barely been on the field this year. And he was just very disappointed. I mean, so was I. Like, it was so frustrating that I couldn't do this amazing thing anymore and go to Hawaii for this, once in a lifetime experience. So that really sucked. And then eventually I did drop out of football because like I'm not even fucking playing and shit like that. But like even the fucking, the doctor slightly smiled when he told me about the pulling of my groin muscle. And I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs. If you're saying that I masturbated or pulled on my dick, that is an organ. It's not a muscle, right? Yes.
Right,
It
yeah.
was like I swear to
Okay.
God, it was driving me nuts that everyone laughed, it really did hurt. It sucked. And like I said, I lost this, the ability to train and stuff. So it was by far one of the worst injuries. Yeah. What do you guys? What do you
Why
guys?
don't we think about that time you pulled your groin?
Yeah,
That's
we've
that's
usually
what I was laughing at, actually, was just the time that I did this thing.
I could have said pulled groin muscles, I guess. Make it a little
Yeah.
bit more universal. But yeah.
But to be fair, groin is a funny word. 90% of America's funniest home videos of somebody getting hit in the groin. Um, but yeah, it would totally suck if it happened to you. And you would totally get laughed at all the time. I don't
But
think anyone was implying you did it by like pulling on your dick though. I think it's just a funny word and like you know what I mean? Like I don't think that was like the implication.
yeah,
Is
but
that what you were saying?
you weren't there. They were totally implying that. Every single one of them had this smile like, "Oh, you pulled your groin muscle, huh? Easy there, sport." Like it was all the implication of masturbation.
Oh,
And it's like it's a fucking organ. Like right
yeah.
now, I get so upset because like no one seemed to understand. Like I was in pain, and yet everyone had jokes. Oh my God.
Vince, you're right because I think it's a male female thing because I think guys know what a groin muscle is, but women don't or something. At least when it comes to my mother and my two sisters, because I had this conversation with all three of them, and I was talking. I don't know if I was talking about like a Packers player who had like a football injury, but I was talking about a guy who had injured his groin, and they were like, "What happened? Did he get kicked in the nuts?" And I'm like, "No, that's not how you injure your groin." I'm like, "Your groin, it's like when you do the splits, you're stretching out that groin muscle. It's that inner thigh muscle. And if you stretch too far, you'll pull the muscle." But like none of the three of them understood what a groin muscle was at all. They thought it had something to do with the male genitalia or something. And I was frustrated talking to them, just like Vince, you were frustrated. Like, what? No, they're like, I pulled a muscle. It hurts.
I love the fact that you mentioned your sisters earlier, but it was a pleasant story. I'm like, oh, that's so unusual. But then they come back.
Oh yeah.
And then they kicked
Usually,
Dave in the nuts.
oh
They
thank
said,
goodness no.
"How's your groin, Mr. College Boy?"
Yeah, I don't know. Can't really add, I guess, it's a very personal story. Just sucked. All right. Whoever's next. Oh no, wait. Segue challenge.
Um, Hope this next topic isn't a kick in the groin, that's for sure.
John, I think you're up.
All right. I hate philosophical trolley problems. And for anyone who doesn't know what these are the things like they're the hypothetical situations people will bring up, and they're like, let's say you come upon this situation and there's this train track with a switch and there's a trolley going down the track, and if you do nothing, five people will get run over. But if you pull the switch, then it changes tracks, and then only one person gets run over. Do you do it? And like then there's like all kinds of different variations on it. And there's just something about like this type of problem that kind of rubs me the wrong way. That it's just like kind of the assumption that you have like perfect knowledge of what will happen if you react a certain way in the situation. And then like it's just so much different from real life where you're like, like you're just walking by this situation and you're like, oh, there's a lever here. Like, can't if I pull, like I don't know. It's like these situations are just so contrived. And then but then like somehow like you're supposed to feel bad if you've now let five people die instead of one when you're just like a bystander. You just showed up there and this was happening. Or then like it makes me think of like situations where like, a terrorist is telling you, like do this thing or I'm gonna shoot your wife, and um like okay, five strangers get shot or your wife gets shot or something like that. And like nothing you can do in that situation is like your fault. Like yes, you may have guilt for the rest of your life, regardless of which way you pick. But like ultimately, like this terrorist who put you in this situation and is making all the rules, they're the ones who are at fault for everything. And that's how I feel about trolley problems. Like whoever created the scenario is at fault, and like I can try to minimize the damage as best as I can in this hypothetical situation, but I don't think you should assign morality to someone making these decisions. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah. I was gonna ask if you've had to deal like because yeah, they try and measure what kind of a person you are depending on like what you choose, right?
Yeah.
And wasn't that kind of like maybe they do that for like hiring processes or something, you know? Like that seems weird to kind of like here's this scenario, this lose-lose scenario, and
Hmm.
yeah, I really don't care for it. Oh, but I had a question though. Did you read about how they were trying to put that idea of like measuring the lesser of two evils in like self-driving cars? Like try to program?
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like that's a real life um use of this concept. Sure.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Like I read into it a little bit more and it's like, yeah, what if the car's driving and then it's like, oh, do I swerve here or swerve this way?
Yeah.
Like,
What
Yeah, and
what
that's messed up then. Because are
what
you
did
gonna like go ahead?
I was gonna say, what did Elon pick? Like, do you swerve and hit the lady with the baby carriage, or do you go into the crowd of five people? Like, I want to
Right.
know what he
Or
chose. What did he program into the car?
if I'm a consumer, am I gonna like choose the car that protects the driver's life above all else or protects like a random pedestrian's life? Like, I'm gonna want to buy the one that protects the driver's life.
yeah, like
And
do you get to pick, Like, oh, by the way, you
oh
or the
yeah.
crowd, like, oh, this is you're kicking the tires and shit. You're like, oh, this looks nice. They're like, yeah, but they don't care if the driver survives.
Yeah, it's a selfless driving mode. It does not care if
Selfless.
you live or die.
Selfless. Oh my God. Dave, have you heard of this thing?
Like when I first like read that topic, I had no idea what it was, but I went on Wikipedia and I was reading about it. And yeah, it's like what really got me and like how absurd it was, where it was like how like the professors who kind of came up with this problem, like, or I don't know if it was them or like somebody else, would elaborate on it more. And then they were like making more contingency plans of like the people that you saved, the five people that you saved. Well, it turns out that one of them was a serial killer
Oh God.
and they have these many victims, so maybe you shouldn't. And it's like, how would you have knowledge of that? They're like, oh, one of these guys is Ted Bundy and it would be good and it would do less harm in the future. Like, I don't like those kind of questions. They're, yeah, like you said, they're convoluted. You would have no idea of this in real time if you were actually in a situation. Like, really all you can do is kind of like the basic like should I stop or should I turn left or turn right? Like if you're in a car and you have to, it's like if if you're in a semi truck and your brakes go out and there's an intersection in front of you and there's people in jail for their life because the brakes went out in their semi and they crashed into an intersection and they killed some people and they're like, well, the brakes were out in the semi, but I guess we're arguing like, well, you should have swerved and hit a tree, and it's like, okay, but it's like, I don't know, it's like such a weird situation to like try and assign a right or wrong, unless you were there and you only have 3 seconds or 2 seconds to react.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty messed up.
Um, I think someone was like, I don't remember what viewpoint this is, philosophically or whatever, but they're like, well, if you're on the trolley and it's heading towards those five people, if you touch the clutch thing, then that means you're a part of that death, whereas in you weren't part of these five deaths because it
Hmm.
wasn't, you came across the scenario. You didn't do anything. So yeah, that's interesting. Again, this is like these hypotheticals that are just horrible. I just kind of get upset thinking about it. It's like, Sophie's Choice sort of thing. Ever
Yeah,
seen
but
it?
but like that, like if you see someone who's choking and you don't try and give them the Heimlich maneuver, like, yeah, you didn't make them choke, but like you could have at least tried to help, you know?
Yeah, but if
Well,
you save them, the piece of food would split into five pieces and fly
yeah,
into five
exactly.
other people's mouths,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they would
exactly.
choke.
because again, there's the no-win scenario. Like you can help, you'll go in there, you'll help that person who's choking, but then they'll be like, oh, but then that guy was Hitler or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Ha, gotcha. Yeah, Hitler saving motherfucker.
Oh my God. I bet his ears are burning like constantly. It's like people are always using me as like the worst case. Oh man. Segway challenge?
We move on to the next topic. Only one person dies, but if we continue talking about this topic indefinitely, then five people.
But those five people were making their own podcast. Uh, Dave, I believe.
Oh God, I was hoping you wouldn't pick me. Uh, I'm indifferent. My topic is far less interesting, unless you're a big fan of this band. But I'm indifferent to the band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Um, Red Hot Chili Peppers are a band where I've listened to like all their music, and I really like their music. I think they're good. However, I just never want to listen to them again. Like anytime their music is on, I always skip it. Like, and I don't have any other band like that where I feel like I've listened to like so much of their music and at the same time like I never want to hear them again. I don't know because they're like a really unique sounding like rock ska like this almost kind of like a reggae infused rock type of band like it's their
Funk.
own like
Throw some funk
yeah
in there. Yeah.
yeah that California kind of style. Like their lyrics are really catchy. Their guitars are awesome. Um, they're super talented. I like their lyrics are like really good. Like if you a lot of the lyrics like you don't even like really catch what they're saying, but if you actually like are reading the lyrics as you're listening to the song, it's really interesting and you're like, "Oh, I didn't realize how like cool the song was." Um, but I don't know. I guess maybe it was just a phase really liking them because now I haven't listened to them in years and anytime I ever hear one of their songs, I always change channel, I skip ahead, thumbs down. Like I just don't want to hear them again.
Whoa, that's crazy. John, are you familiar with the Peppers?
Somewhat familiar. Like I don't know that I've ever listened to any of their albums all the way through before this. But I'm definitely familiar with a lot of this stuff, like even beyond some of the stuff that was like on the radio and whatnot. Um, I definitely like a lot about their sound, but um, it I guess I can see getting tired of it pretty quickly too. Definitely like I love the like some of their bass lines and stuff and like the really yeah like the funk aspect of it I enjoy quite a bit. Um, one thing that I always think of with them, and not to talk about other podcasts, but Scott Ackerman and Adam Scott have this show where they'll talk about different bands, and it started with U2. It was called "You Talking U2 to Me," and then they did REM. Are you talking REM re me? Um, but they like went through both of those bands full discographies and talked about each album and so forth. And then they started doing one on the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and literally like halfway through the episode, they're just like both like, ugh, like I don't want to talk about these guys anymore. And they then started doing a Talking Heads podcast just on the fly. And then they did all of the Talking Heads albums instead, like, over the next, whatever, 10 or 12 episodes. I just thought it was the funniest thing that, like, they went into it with full intention of, exploring their entire discography. And they're just like, oh, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I
Adam
really want to listen to that because that sounds awesome.
Adam Scott, is that Parks and Rec?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh, awesome. Wow. I want to check out that show. That's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that show. I've listened to um a lot of I've listened to all of them, and like the Talking Heads, I just listened to all of those again just because that's a band that I actually like that they covered on them, unlike most of the other ones. I'm not a huge fan of.
well, I looked into Red Hot Chili Peppers quite a bit. This was before this was even mentioned when I was just like, I'm gonna give this band a shot and listen to some albums and stuff like that. So I did. And if Scott and Adam Scott, were going chronologically, I could understand why that would be tough because they've had, I don't know how many fucking albums now, 13, and their first four, like it's like incomprehensible nonsense. Like it's just all these free floating ideas going on and all at once. And that's why I believe the key ingredient to Red Hot Chili Peppers is John Frusciante. He joined in their fourth album, and he kind of like brought melody. He kind of like started to like, hey, what if we think of ahead of time? Because what they did, and they still kind of do, is just jam. They'll just like be playing on stuff, and they're like, oh, that little part, let's add that in there. But John was more like, I have this whole song idea. Let's take your pieces and we'll kind of make it into something. So, but what's crazy is that, he joins the band. They make two albums with him. The second one, which is Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, is huge. It explodes. They're popular from it. And then he leaves. He has a bad breakup with the band. He's gone the entire 90s. Like I think Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic was 91. And then he comes back in 99 and they make Californication. And that's huge too, because they had an album without him in between, and that just didn't do anything. That was with James Addiction's dude, Dave Ferrer, whatever.
Navarro.
Navarro, yes. That was when
Yeah.
he was with them. And it just didn't do anything. And so when he came back, they have another hit and it goes to Fashante's head. He has a Pink Floyd Roger Waters moment where the next album, by the way, he like didn't allow anyone to write their own shit. Basically, he just wrote all the stuff, all the drums, all the bass and shit like that. And it's a nice album, but it's definitely unlike the Peppers as you're used to them. Um, so yeah, he then after Stadium Arcadium, he left again in 2006, and he came back 2022. And yeah, like in between them, they had some two albums, didn't do much. So Frusciante is that missing ingredient. He is definitely that fourth person that they need in that group. Yeah, it's crazy. And they are a vibe, as the kids say. The energy, all that stuff that they bring can be tiring. I understand why you could be like, oh man, you know, like this is a little too much peppers right now. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I didn't know about him, that member, and that's interesting to me because like Blood Sugar Sex Magic was probably my favorite album or like the start of their favorite stuff, and then Californication and By the Way. But I think it was Stadium Arcadium was the first album where I was just like, okay, like I can't do this anymore. And like ever since then, I was just like, I feel like I heard like the best of them in those previous albums, and it was, I don't know, it was, I like I really enjoyed that stuff while I did, but yeah, I don't know. Something about Stadium Arcadium. And I know, like, just being around at that time, it was on the radio so much that I think that that's probably what killed it for me was just hearing Danny California a million times.
Snow.
Yeah.
Hey, I love that
Hey,
though. I love that though. Okay, but there is a difference though. Like I said, he kind of went overboard with By the Way, where it was all him. And I think after that, they came up with the compromise, which was Stadium Arcadium, which was a double album. And then, so yeah, a shitload of songs. And then he leaves again. comes back in 2022, and what happens? They release two albums back to back, Unlimited Love and Return of the Dream Canteen. So I think that is the compromise. They told John, like, dude, you're great, you're talented, we want you here, but like we need to be able to do our own thing. And I think that's why they have all these songs now because they won't let John just whittle it down a little bit more. And one other thing that I find very interesting is that all the guitarists that they had like before and after John would come in and out throughout their lives, the Peppers would just be fucking like, sorry, you're out, bro. He's like, what? I've been with you. Like we've been touring and we made an album. And they're like, sorry, John wants to be back. They just take him back. Like
And
what?
that guy's like the Baxter.
Plenty of Baxters, lots of Baxters. Dave Navarro, a Baxter for sure. That's crazy. Um, Segway challenge, funky bass. Um, by the way,
Under the bridge.
all right. Oh, I will go here. I have my mystery topic. I hate crossing my arms. To me, I have a bit of an interest in body language. I find it interesting that like the way you present yourself can affect the way people view you and how they feel like they should be behaving around you and stuff like that. Um, so this came from when I was working with a client. I work with special needs people, and this client, uh, he just walked a certain way where like his shoulders were back. And if you looked at anyone else, that seems rather confrontational or no, more like he's puffing out his chest or something like that, right? So I noticed that this one woman was like intimidated by him. And I'm like, he's not even violent, whatever. So that got me looking at what we do when we're hanging out and stuff. And I've noticed that I hate the crossing of the arms. You could either look very defensive, like you're shelling up, you know, or you could be very like trying to intimidate, like a lot of fucking douchebags. You could see that on. I hate the pose. Every single reality show, it shows someone go like cross their arms in front of the TV, like pawn shops and stuff like that. And I just don't care for it. Like I said, it sends this weird signal that either you're hiding or you're trying to intimidate. I'm not into it. So if you're ever around me, you'll notice that I never cross my arms. And it's just this added thing where I'm trying to be like, hey, I'm not, I'm a good guy. I'm a nice, calm, neutral presence. Because believe it or not, being a Native American in a mostly white town, some white people are like, "Oh my God, it's not white. Look at him." So I have to just physically show them that, like, hey, I'm here. I'm not, and I'm not being intimidated by you. Like I don't want to come off that way. So yeah, what do you guys feel about crossing your arms?
I also actually have tried to not do it a lot. I haven't really thought of it I didn't really have a good reason for not doing it other than like one time a girl I had a crush on was like, "Why are you always crossing your arms?" I'm like, I don't know. I'll never do it again." But um, I was at a work function a while ago and someone gave a presentation on how to give better presentations. And they
Redundant.
one of the things that yeah, she specifically like warned against like, having your arms crossed when you're up in front of the audience or whatever.
Oh.
That's off-putting. And like just have your arms down at your side and it feels awkward. It feels like it's awkward, but it doesn't look awkward, you know. And um when I'm walking outside or just like walking down the road or whatever, I always have my hands like crossed like kind of behind my back, like with my one arm or one hand on my other wrist. I don't know why, leaving my soft underbelly exposed. Um, but yeah, it definitely is something I have thought about throughout my life. but never actually having good reasons for anything.
I cross my arms all the time. And it's because not because I'm trying to be an asshole or confrontational or like I'm shy. It's simply for the reason that I'm cold and I'm like this. I'm always like I'll cross my arms because my hands are cold and if I do that, my forearms are like nestled right on my belly and it's comfortable. Um, and another reason I do it is because I'm fidgety. Like I will just sit here and like play with my pop socket on my phone and I'll just be like this and I'm constantly doing something with my hands and it's super annoying. So if I just go like this, it's like putting my hands in their pocket where it's like now I'm not doing anything annoying. So I'll cross my arms. But I am like aware that people definitely they like if you're having a conversation with someone like at work and someone like comes in, like don't cross your arms because it's like you're shelling up and you're not listening to them and you don't care what they have to say or you're getting defensive. So I definitely know like uncross my arms like if I'm having a conversation with someone. And I don't really feel like I ever do it while I'm standing, but it is like a posture that I do while I'm sitting in a chair.
Yeah. I definitely want to cross my arms sometimes because it would cover this bulgous gut. Oh God, it's so
Oh, I thought you
big.
were gonna say groin.
I know
Um,
you cross your arms and like, whoa, Vince looks so thin now.
Dave, when you and I and Eric went to we ran the thing, what is it?
The
Mud
tough
Mud
mudder.
Fudder. Yeah, tough mudder, tough mudder fucker. You have to you get to take a picture in front of the big banner and stuff like that. And I remember I was in the middle, Eric was to my left, you were to my right, or vice versa. But you guys crossed your arms, and it put me in a awkward thing where I'm like, well, I don't like to cross my arms, so I kind of did this. I kind of just put my arms ahead of me, kind of like I don't know. But like that's the only thing that sucks is that crossing your arms is so easy. Everyone does it. Like I said on those reality TV, like you walk up and you cross your arms, but it's like I don't want to do that. What do you do outside of that? It's tough. I don't know. Maybe I
You
should have done the arms behind the body thing. That could work, you know. Sounds kind of
arms
cool.
akimbo.
Akimbo. Does that mean parallel?
I think that's like when you like put your hands on your hips.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know if I like
that's a good
that.
pose.
Yeah?
I've done that for pictures randomly, and I kind of like the pictures because it's like a superhero pose almost.
Yeah. All right.
Where like I feel like the arms cross, that's kind of like a I don't know. I always just think of like the pro wrestlers or something when they're like showing them and they're trying to look mean and they got their arms crossed. But like, yeah, the hands on the hips, that's kind of like a Superman or something, where you're looking up at the sky, like, who am I gonna save next?
Yeah, that's it. That's the show. My body language is indicating to myself that I want to finish the show. So, like, subscribe, comment if you're on YouTube. Go to a few goldilockbears.com. I'm Vincent Cloud.
Leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast player. I'm John Nemitz.
And don't forget to tell a friend. I'm David Lauer.